them associates, gather on the stand. This trial's a circus, but I've got a plan. Not a grifter, still worse than Dan. Hopscotch squares, don't trip, don't fall. BK in a felony, I've heard it all. Shake it, magic 8 ball. Tell me the truth, will justice call? Me be the diva, she's running the show. Two Capone mad, yeah, everybody knows. Fat or fat, well, nobody knows. What the coin echoes as the chaos grows. My credibility left in a vehicle. Hopscotch squares, don't trip, don't fall. BK in a felony, I've heard it all. Shake it, magic 8 ball. Tell me the truth, will justice call? What the coin echoes as the chaos grows. My credibility left in a vehicle.
I was sleeping.
Yes, I was. What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. I had to think what day it was because I don't know. I want to say it's Wednesday, but it's not. That's tomorrow. I hope you guys are all having a great week so far. We're so far into it. Good for us. So, Gabby may be here in a little bit. Not sure. But whatever you're doing, Gabby, I hope you're having fun. A great time. What's up, Bad Dazzer? And Mr. Snipe. Miss Heidel, shaking it like a magic 8 ball. Miss whoever. You weren't sleeping this time? Lucky. You thought it was the weekend? Well, I'm not that far off, but I wasn't. I always have to stop and think, what day is it? Especially if something throws if I do something out of the ordinary, which I really didn't today. But, I mean, I guess, what's up, Ronnie? The most out of the ordinary thing I did today was I took my dad to Kohl's so he could buy some socks. And he also wanted to buy some pajamas, but we left only with socks. So it was entertaining. Hello, Flashman. And I will say, I hope my socks that I have last for a very, very, very long time, because he bought 2 packages of socks and that was $52 freaking dollars. Like, oh my gosh. Hope my socks never get a hole in them. What's up, Ash? But we didn't get pajamas because he started. I don't know if you're familiar. I don't go to Kohl's very much, but they sell separates, mostly for men, mostly just the bottoms for men. And my dad wears a set, for lack of a better word. And we're kind of looking around. And I would thought they would have had a better selection with Father's Day coming up, whatever. But they didn't. And so I didn't want to ask him, like, hey, when's the last time you bought pajamas on your own? Like, Mom didn't buy you pajamas. Apparently, my mom may have been the last person to buy him pajamas. Because he goes, don't they just have them in a package? That came from JCPenney's. We have not had a JCPenney's here for at least a decade or longer. It's been a while. And I said, I don't think so. I think you're gonna have to look on Amazon maybe to find what you're looking for, because I don't know exactly. I don't know. I think in some places, Flashman, I think it is. But it's not here, and it hasn't been for a while. Like, the mall closed that store down, and then they knocked it down and replaced it with Target, maybe? I think Target. Because I think the end that used to have Sears on it became an Ulta and a bunch of different little stores that you don't enter from the mall. But no, the joke is, so he said when we were driving away, he said, like, your mom used to just be like, you go over there and you buy the shirts. And he said, and I knew where to go because it was JCPenney's and they were always in the same spot. And I said, and you also knew that you were going to go back because my mom, whenever she went to JCPenney, I don't care if it was here or if it was in Minnesota or if it was in Iowa or Nebraska, wherever, we were going to return. We were going to have to make a return when we got back here. And towards the end there, the closest one's like an hour away. So, it was just funny. Yeah, he's not ever gonna do that. It was not Kmart. We haven't had Kmart for quite a while. And Sears, the last Sears sign I saw on a mall, the Sears was closed. The last sign I saw, I don't even know if the mall itself is still open. It's way up north in Indiana. And it was during COVID, and the E was burned out, but the sign was still lit up at night. And I was like, oh my gosh, they have SARS. I couldn't help it. It was so funny to see that. But today was just funny listening to my dad. Like, just look, I know he can use Amazon, trust me. But he didn't have any pajamas right now. Have I heard of something called a hex? Yes, but I don't have it. I don't have one. Ash, I would like to I'll take your heat. Take the heat. It's been really, really nice here. It's not been humid at all, but I would like to go swimming, and I was going to go Friday, but, all the things happened. Fried buzzards and all that stuff. And then Sunday came, and it was kind of chilly. And the pool temp went the other direction. Too cold. And it's not that warm today again. And it's going to storm tomorrow. So I have no idea. So I'll take it. If my mom would maybe just come back to go shopping at your JCPenney's, Heidel. I'm just saying. Like, even you, whoever. She used to live in California. She'll just go right back out there. I mean, it is insane. Are you talking about the store hex or like somebody places a hex on you? Flash Van. Now I'm confused. Not that takes much. East side? North side? I didn't see that. It was 89 degrees in your house? Holy crap. My house didn't have power all day and only got up to 80. I'm with whoever. That would be a crime. There would be a crime scene. Might be a trial. Like, no, thank you. That's insane. My aunt keeps her house at 79, and I thought I was going to roast. Like, because I'm always freezing in our house. Why would you be talking about witchcraft? I don't know. I thought maybe you thought somebody placed a hex on me because JCPenney's closed. I have no idea. I mean, stranger things have been said on here. So, just know that. I do have the thumbnail ready for Cheyenne's stream. I just have not had time to... I have everything, I have all the info. I just need to put it together and then get it posted. So I'll do that tomorrow. That stream will be starting an hour later than our normal because she doesn't get home and for her to get home, get ready and get back on stream. I need to push it back to 7 p.m. my time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I am looking forward to that, but keep that in mind. And I might still go ahead and like maybe have Gabby and I start just a few minutes early, but I'm not sure yet. So TBD, to be determined. All right, so today we have closing arguments from the defense. It's the man, Mr. Trevor Anderson, I believe is his name. And so it's not the woman. We don't have to, I don't know. The state, man, that was a weird closing yesterday because it really felt like we didn't need to go over a lot of that because she's already admitted. She admits I stuck a sharp instrument in her. She admits that. She's just trying to avoid the first degree charge and get a lesser charge of manslaughter. So she did not sway me at all with her testimony. I don't think she swayed any of us with her testimony. It was awful. It was shrill. It was hard to understand. And sorry, lady, but you had a murder kit in your car. That's just the way it is. You tried to say you were too scared because nobody was there. You were alone because your husband had left you, your kids were grown, and there was nobody there. If that's the case, then I'm surprised the defense didn't ask her if she just never ever drove herself anywhere, ever, by herself when she was married. Because what are you going to do with all those weapons in your car? Weapons, being a crowbar, gloves, you know. It was during COVID time, so she's just driving around with gloves apparently. And, you know, binoculars. Everybody needs binoculars when they're scared, I guess. I have no clue. I just am like, you can't sell us that. You think they were just trying to show it was premeditated going through the entire story? That could be, but man, she showed it herself, in my opinion. She wrote that book front to back, autographed it, signed it, and sent it. Like, that was awful testimony. Awful. I had no sympathy for her. I get being mad. I get being hurt. I get being jealous. I get all of that. But at some point, you have to be like, okay, he's just not that into me anymore. I mean, it sucks. It sucks. But, you know, are you saying black swan? Black widow? A swan spider? That's what I thought first, too. Why would you need a knife to tell your husband you miss him? I have no idea. Or crowbar. Or, you know, one of her masks that Gabby and I discussed that she was not making these. It was just Gabby and I being stupid before stream started. You know, her chloroform laced mask that she was making in her basement. For emphasis. Also, there was no indication whatsoever that even if Tracy, the victim, had gotten back with her boyfriend, her husband was coming back to her. I think he was gone. I mean, he wanted out. He left. The kids were grown. If that's maybe why he stayed as long as he did. Who knows? We didn't hear, why did you leave? Did he leave because of Tracy? You know, whatever. We didn't hear any of that stuff. Doesn't matter. To prove a point. No. This smells nice. False. I mean, and no, oh, we cannot forget about smells of smoking cigarettes in the car. Be still my heart. That's really what seemed to send her over the edge. is because she smelled cigarette smoke in that truck that her and her now estranged husband, now ex-husband, had quit smoking to save the money to buy that truck. That is what really, she was so focused on the fact that you could smell smoke in that truck. And she dumped her purse out, probably looking for the smoke. She probably really needed one at that time after she did what she did. I mean, insane. So we'll listen to the defense try to sway us back over, we weren't ever there. But she really wanted that smoke. I know. She only smoked in his half. That's true. That's true. Self-defense, that one went out the window when the defense reiterated the fact that the victim was seatbelted in. She was trapped. She couldn't get away. And there was no self-defense. The defendant had this small scratch, scrape, whatever, here on her face, and she had bruises on her arms. But that was that was not from her defending herself. I don't believe that for a second. I think that was for her, reaching back into her car to grab whatever she used to take Tracy's life. She could have, they said, you could have just walked away right there. You could have just turned around, you could have left. But she couldn't do it. So, I don't know. No, Flashman, women do not like bad smells. Don't. But depends on what kind of cheese you're talking about. Just putting that out there before you bad dazzer. So you should not eat bean dip in front of a woman. Got it. I'm going to yes that one. I'm going to say yes. All right. Here we go. Back to the church of the court. Big no to the D cheese. No. Don't do that. Flashman, do not take these men. Do not take these guys' advice. Don't do it. Just listen to the women. We will tell you. We will not lead you astray. I promise. All right. No closed captions on this one for some reason. But, so let me know how the volume is and let's roll.
Just start out saying you have this shield here, and I don't have the clicker that Andy had. That's all right. I don't want to mess up the technology again and have a problem. But it just reminded me of being in the batting cage, and I'm the pitching machine, just shooting you all with baseballs that you can't hit back at me. So the thing with what we're asking you to do as a jury is unusual, different from most defenses that the defense attorney wants to make or asks to make or usually makes. Because one of the first things that we told you, Ms. Iron told you, is this isn't a whodunit, and it's not. And I think as humans, as
you might have to speak up a little bit.
Humans, as jurors, but anyone, that it can be a difficult thing to accept that anyone can kill someone without defending themselves, without it being a war, without it being accidental, and have it not be murder. But it can be. And it's been that way forever in this country. Manslaughter, just the word itself, at least in my mind, sounds even worse than murder. You think of slaughter, you might even describe certain murders as a slaughter. because of, as Mr. Prosser in fact mentioned, the blood. There's blood all over that truck, the car, Miss Boat, and there were multiple cuts. There was a fatal stab wound. There were the incised or the cutting wounds to the hands. There were the marks on the face. But you heard from the medical examiner, her own words, their witness, not ours, that all that, the injuries to the hands and the wound to the chest could have been from the same thrust. Now, attorneys often like to have their cake and eat it too, defense attorneys and prosecutors. And so, if this were a case where Tracy Mondabough had been slashed to pieces, multiple stab wounds, cuts all over her face, deep cuts to her torso, multiple stab wounds, sharp force injuries to her chest, her head, her scalp, her arms, her hands, dozens and dozens. They would have stood here and told you that is evidence of actual hatred. That is evidence of malice. They don't have that in this case, though, although they're trying, even though their own medical witness said it could have been caused from one thrust. They're trying to say, it might have been more than that. Well, okay, even if it was like 2 or 3, which is not what Ms. Boat remembers, that's not evidence of hatred. Because if this were a case with different facts, the state would be arguing the multiple injuries caused from definitively multiple stab wounds, where their medical examiner gets up and says, this was a strike, this was a strike, this was a strike, this was a strike. They would argue that's your evidence for malice and hatred. Now, the word malice, no one uses that word anymore. There's all these old-timey words we use in the law. That the last time anyone had a casual conversation with someone and, her mother-in-law said she didn't like her choice of paint in the living room. You should have seen the malice in her eyes. No one uses that word anymore. It's an old-fashioned word that has a legal meaning and has forever as far as the legal community, not even in America, in England, the common law. I don't know exactly how far back it goes as a legal definition, but it's been around for a long time. Society moves on. We stop using words like that. It'd be perhaps back in the day, the defense during my position would have stood up and said to Mr. Prosser, everything he said is balderdash. That's another old-timey word no one uses. But had a specific meaning to them. I don't even know what that means. I'm sure it has some definition, some derivation of the word that we don't even remember anymore. And so, when I'm talking about there's been this idea of manslaughter in the law for a long time. Back in the pre-Declaration of Independence days, there was an attorney named John Adams. And you might remember from history class in elementary school or civics class about what's called the Boston Massacre, when some colonists tossed objects, snowballs, nothing really dangerous, at a group of British soldiers. And they opened fire on the colonists and killed several of them. Now, John Adams was an undeniable patriot. not loyal to the crown. In fact, became second president of the U.S. And as defense attorney, he said, I'll take that case. I'll represent the British soldiers that shot those colonists. He was probably the most hated man in America. Standing up there, probably in front of a jury of loyal patriots who hated the British, and telling them this wasn't murder, this was manslaughter. And he did that. Now, this isn't a case strange to a lot of attorneys. Sometimes it gets talked about in voir dire, or maybe an opening, but in voir dire to discuss why defense attorneys do what they do. And that's not specifically why I'm bringing it up. This concept of manslaughter has been in our legal system even before we were an official country. It's been in common law. It's in Iowa law. And the fact that personal feelings, and there's an instruction, your personal feelings, biases, attitudes, that you have to set those aside. And if personally you have those feelings that, I don't know, I can't say that someone, should receive mercy or sympathy as described by the state because they couldn't control themselves. They lost their temper. They were provoked. You killed someone, you admitted you killed someone, and you didn't tell me it was self-defense or that you're crazy or that it was an accident, so it's murder. No. Your oath is to uphold the law, to apply the law the judge gives you to the facts, and keep your oath. Now, the story of this case has been precipitated by someone who didn't keep their oath, Nick Boat, which is something to consider with. And I want to clarify, there's also been this word, separation that's been used. They were separated. Much like malice, that's a legal term. The state hasn't presented you any document showing there was a legal separation on it. There wasn't. When we say separation, it's what was described by Michelle. And talked about further on cross with Mr. Bull. She knew, he told her one evening there was another woman. They needed to talk, there's another woman. Okay. Next day, he's gone. Said she's at work and he never comes back. At least not as the man viewing himself as her husband anymore. That was the separation. That's how they became separated. It wasn't some mutual thing they agreed and, all right, here's how we're planning to divide our assets when we eventually get divorced, and here's my, divorce attorney's business card. And it was sudden, unexpected, and devastating to Michelle. And whatever adjectives the state wants to use for their theme, seething, obsessed, whatever adjective, it doesn't matter. Because, of course, how are you going to feel when you've been with someone for that long a period of time and the circumstances you're in and you feel abandoned? Now, I want to go back to, I mentioned before, I kind of like to start, go Going into some more specifics from what the state addressed, things I noted from their closing. Now, one thing the state, Mr. Prosser brought up was about the gloves. Well, when did she put them on? When she put on the gloves when she opened the trunk? When did she put those gloves on? Well, guess what? She testified. They didn't ask her. If they wanted to know that, they could have asked her, and they didn't. She testified in front of you. If the state wanted to know that, you'd have an answer. They didn't ask it. Now, so this is not a self-defense case. Mr. Prosser mentioned that. There's no evidence of self-defense, that Tracy was attacked and was defending herself. If you're being attacked by a manslaughterer, like Michelle, yes, you can defend yourself. And you know what? If Tracy had ended up pulling her own knife out of the truck and stabbed and killed Michelle, it probably would have been justified. That's not what this case is about. That's why it's manslaughter. It's not about whether Tracy was like...
Probably. I think we could have counted on it being justified, sir. Oh my, first of all, it's woman slaughter. Yeah, can we get that right, please? He is actually, that's what they're going for. They're actually going for manslaughter instead of first degree. You're fine, Heidel. I haven't seen you nonsense anything. I haven't seen any nonsense chatter from you. This guy. Can you, Flashman, you said the audio was good. Is it good for you guys? It's low for me, so I can hear it, but if I need to turn it up, I have room. So just let me know.
To defend herself, and that she's in a seat belt, and that she's in a closed-in space, and that, the downward angle thing, that the medical examiner could have testified for them, by the way, about the degree of the angle, of the wound. That's something they do. Like, oftentimes, you might hear that, but no angle of no downward angle was given. Just it's downward from, I don't recall, left to right, right to left, but that just means where the hand position is, the angle of the knife compared to where it enters the human body. Now, the discussion of the blood, how much blood there was, and Mr. Prosser mentioned this phrase called cast off. It's another legal phrase that blood spatter experts use. State didn't call a blood spatter expert. They had one at DCI named Mike Halverson. He didn't testify for you. But that's Mike Halverson. What is cast off? Does that only come from a knife?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard to hear.
Does cast off only come from a knife or a weapon? I would say no. If you have a hand with those kind of wounds, gushing blood, and you're fighting with Michelle, who's just stabbed you, wounds are going to leave blood spatter and cast off. Not just a knife with blood on it. I mean, trying to make Michelle into Norman Bates, in the shower, just wailing away. Well, the physical evidence isn't there. It's cast off from any number of things. It could be an object, could be a hand. Probably some of it was from the knife. Could have been. But again, the state's own forensic evidence doesn't support this being beyond one thrust that caused that stab wound. Marks to the head could have been from nails, even the ones that look like pressure or something. You can look at the photo yourself, but there's some of the ones that are wider and don't appear to actually be cuts, but like small pressure defects defects in the skin. I mean, if it was gloved fingers, possibly could cause those types of marks. Because I mean, if it was a knife, I mean, what's happening? Is she just like holding the knife out like this in front of her face, moving it back and forth? That doesn't make sense. There's a struggle going on. The hair that's in various things. Michelle, what she left behind, her DNA at the scene suggests a struggle of some type. When we say struggle, I'm not placing any blame on Tracy for this, because like I said, Michelle ended up the one dead. Tracy have a good defense if they ever even charged her in the first place. So the issue is what was going on in Michelle's mind. We said this isn't a mental health defense, and it's not. But it requires you, specific intent requires you, things that say knowledge require you to kind of divine the intent of an individual, what's in their mind. And manslaughter has that. Now, as a jury, I'd like to jobs during your deliberations. Make decisions about the case. The evidence has been shown. You are charged with the task of interpreting that evidence, applying the law the judge has given you, and deciding what all of you can agree on that you believe happened, didn't happen, was thought, was not thought, in the mind. This divining the intent or the knowledge of the individual, of Michelle. Another job is to make sure your fellow jurors follow the law the judge gives you. In your deliberations, if you feel there's an instruction or law that isn't being observed or being ignored, or too much weight put on one thing, or if someone discusses something that wasn't in evidence that they may have heard about, and we covered this in voir dire, but you never know since the trial has started if anyone has heard anything. Trying to consider evidence that's outside what has been presented in this courtroom. I'd ask you, if that's happening, that you let the judge know, the court attendant know, if it gets beyond just a short discussion saying, look, I can't, no, and move on. If they're persistent, let the court know. Now, deliberation requires you to not only have your own opinion, but to listen to the opinion of others. That doesn't mean you have to accept it. It doesn't mean you have to change your opinion, but to deliberate. Now, that's a word that's used elsewhere here, to deliberate. And if you think about what's being tasked to you to deliberate on a murder case, where the state is asking you to decide whether someone committed murder or not, and then you see that same word, deliberate, uses apply to what Michelle didn't have the chance to do for, say, manslaughter, or for murder, or premeditation. If Michelle had time to deliberate that can have impact on the charges that you believe the state charge or charges the state may have been able to prove to you beyond reasonable doubt. And what we're arguing is that that's manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter. And the use of that word, it's not just superfluous or flowery language. It has impact because all you do as jurors is deliberation. Now, in addition, there's a question that all the jurors have to ask yourselves about what has happened, what has been done, and I believe that's best summed up in, did the prosecution logically rule out all the reasonable doubts or possibilities based upon reason? Now, I know Mr. Prosser put up that you don't have to look for doubts, you have to look for the truth. The truth is already there at the start, and that's that Michelle Boat is presumed innocent. That's the truth. You have to get past the doubt of the state's allegation itself. That is a doubt until they prove it. So you start off the case looking for doubt because Ms. Boat, like all criminal defendants in every case ever in the United States, are presumed innocent. So you do have to look for doubt. This isn't just something you ignore. They either did or didn't rule them out. And that's your only decision. Now, they didn't bring this up in their closing argument. I know the state, and they always get rebuttal. We never get rebuttal. They get the last word because they have the burden. So I assume possibly there's going to be a return to this theme because Mr. Bull brought it up in opening, that Michelle was hunting. She was a hunter, hunting down Tracy. A hunter, the only hunter, Elmer Fudd. He wasn't ever very successful because describing Michelle as a hunter is ridiculous. There's months that go by. I mean, what is the hunt? What is the pointless wandering around, checking things out? And all of this, quote, hunting behavior occurred before March 22nd, when she dealt with or went to mental health treatment and was discharged. Now, I know the state described the first Vermeer encounter as in April, but I don't recall that from the evidence. I don't think they ever established exactly when it was. Michelle, we said before March 22nd, when she went to treatment. I don't think there's any testimony given about the exact date on that. But this hunting wasn't very premeditated, planned, thought out. You know, look at the evidence left behind. If she's been planning this for months, what she's going to do to Tracy, you don't need to do a walk around to your car when you get back and be like, all right, you need to come out here with, towels and be ready, have it ready to clean up, get that bracelet off of the car, throw it away, burn it, do something. The toilet tank, I mean, you throw the stuff in the toilet tank and hop in the shower. I mean, this is something nearby with a lid, where you toss something, hoping it stays hidden, while you get in the shower to wash yourself off, either to hide evidence or, because you're disgusted with what you've done and don't want the blood anywhere and want it off you. Which, this indicates impulse. I mean, wouldn't there be a better plan if you're hunting? You don't just go out unprepared to get away with it. There was nothing pre-planned for this. There was the stuff in the car that was discussed. Oh, one more thing, the keys. That had hair in it. Just another thing that left behind. Now, car. Yes, we have binoculars, but she leaves her binoculars there for the police to find on the open seat. She leaves a garden, we call it garden shovel or some potting shovel there. I mean, that's there. You've got the rubber gloves there. And you knew you were wearing rubber gloves. You leave the exact same rubber gloves in the car. And also, why are there more than, the pair she had on? They're unused, apparently. They don't appear to have any stains on them. There's been a box in the car at some point from her employment. Something that she kept with her. And this COVID explanation, I mean, things have changed since then. We don't really worry about touch now with COVID. I mean, the CDC has said different things about it. It's not such a concern. But back then, this was the early days of it when we weren't necessarily sure what the most effective transmission or percentage of transmission was coming from touch versus, air or droplets in the air. And a lot of people were wearing gloves. Fast food restaurants are still wearing gloves. They probably always should, but they didn't do that before. They're still doing it. And you had it on. I mean, it was very early. Some people, even if over time people become less concerned with COVID, kind of, I think it's overblown or it's been exaggerated or whatever your personal thoughts on it are. Back then, it was kind of still, everyone was like, all right, we'll wait and see. And so different people did different things. Having the gloves on is not dispositive of any premeditation, intent to kill, malice aforethought. And you see in the center console the mask that was described by Michelle. She did have other types of protective items in the car. There's another glove in the center console. Doesn't appear, at least from photographs, to have staining on it. Now the glove. This item, I mean, it's just another thing that was left behind. If this was a plan, a hunter on the prowl. Oh, I forgot the first photo I showed of the scene where it was light out. You may remember asking Julie Kuiper if it was lighter or darker, and darker out than that. She said no. Hunting in the daylight, the broad daylight. I mean, if you're going to plan an attack, why wouldn't you wait for a time until there's darkness, until you have that advantage to pounce, to attack? to exact your revenge, to satiate your jealousy, your bloodlust. It's because this isn't a hunt. Julie Kuiper's own words that she brought up was Hulk. Use the word Hulk. Now, if that's based upon ideas of the Marvel Comics character, the Incredible Hulk, who is powered by anger and becomes that way from anger, that's not premeditation, that's not planning, that's not malice aforethought. That is rage. That is someone...
She also thought the defendant was a man. She said man, and he, she kept using he last night in the 911 call. So that's not saying much. Also, I think what happened is she drove home after she realized that she had put, did the something about Mary thing to the front of her hair with the blood, saw it all over her, and ran inside to take a shower and clean off. She didn't have time to come back outside and make sure her car was clean because the cops were already there. It didn't take them long. I mean, it's just, this is insane. I know he's got to do a job, I know. But the jury has got to be like, okay, we're good. Stop talking. Oh my gosh. I did see the booking photo, and I can see why they made the mistake. But this is horrible. I thought yesterday was horrible. I didn't know today was going to get worse.
Who, as Michelle said, snapped. And when I'm describing that phrase, again, this isn't a mental health defense. We're not saying it was insanity, temporary insanity, diminished capacity, anything like that. But the wording of the charge of manslaughter, the instructions, marshalling instruction for it, involves some stuff where you need to consider the person's mental process. And if you're the Hulk calming down from having snapped, perhaps that's what it would look like, what Julie Kuiper described, and throwing down an object on the ground with force. I believe she described it. Force because Michelle perhaps was disgusted with what she had done, realized what she had done. Now, I say realize what she was done. Again, I'm not saying it was insanity, diminished responsibility, thing of that nature. But you come out of the state that you're in, the provocation state, and realize this shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have stabbed Tracy. I shouldn't have ever come here. What do I do now? What I do now is I gather what I can think of, glasses, get in the car, drive home, get this blood off of me that I never should have had on me, but I'm not fully human. I killed someone, and I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have done it. And this is what I made clear. As Mr. Cross brought up, sympathy, mercy. And I don't want you to sympathize with Ms. Bowe. I don't want you to give her mercy. She doesn't deserve it. She killed someone seatbelted in her truck with no weapon, killed her and left her for dead, drove off. That is not asking for sympathy when I ask you to consider Why? Because the way the evidence has been presented by the state, there's a timeline, then there's a gap between a lot of this conduct that they've talked about before. Michelle got treatment, got out. Only thing after that point are these calls or messages, Facebook messages to Tracy Mondabough's ex, asking him if he can take her back. That's what's in there afterwards. What can I do to get her back with him so I can work things out with Nick?
She's not a dog.
Now, Instruction 31. The state must prove all the following elements of voluntary manslaughter. Now, we're asking for you to find Michelle guilty of voluntary manslaughter. It's still the state's burden. So this is why I say it's a little weird. As a defense attorney, for me to be making the state's arguments for them as to a particular charge. We believe the evidence has shown, and the lack of other evidence, that this is the charge that most fits the facts. On or about May 2020, 18th day, Michelle intentionally stabbed Tracy Mondabough. Intentionally. Manslaughter takes into account that you're doing this on purpose. It doesn't matter that it be, there's nothing that says they can't think about it, that they can't know what they're doing, that they, it's an accident. Certainly not. Now, intentionally, manslaughter takes that into account. And two, that Tracy died as a result of being stabbed. That's not in dispute. And that the stabbing was done solely by reason of sudden, violent, and irresistible passion resulting from serious provocation. The state cannot rule out that Michelle stabbed Tracy solely from the sudden and violent and irresistible passion resulting from the serious provocation. The state cannot rule out that Tracy's words, "You're some crazy bitch," said to Michelle. I'm not even saying that's wrong. I am not telling you that what Tracy said was wrong about Michelle, because here we are. But does that have to be about a murderer? Again, a manslaughterer, which sounds weird to say, I don't know what that phrase for it is, I'm assuming that's it. You could say that about them too. Clearly, this wasn't justified. And that's why we're not asking for self-defense. We're not saying that Michelle, might have saw Tracy reaching for a knife in her purse, or that Michelle might have seen, some black object in the console she thought was the handle grip to a gun, and so she acted preemptively and stabbed. This isn't a self-defense case. The state cannot rule out that Tracy's words, combined with hitting Michelle and the grappling that they engaged in after that point, were a serious provocation. And then, so you can't rule out this conduct, Tracy's conduct. Again, I'm not even saying it's the wrong conduct. I'm not judging Tracy that she shouldn't have done what she did. But that Tracy's conduct would cause a reasonable person to have a sudden, violent, and irresistible passion. Now, sudden, violent, irresistible. And I've highlighted there a reasonable person because that is used again in Instruction 32 of serious provocation. It's conduct causing a reasonable person to have a sudden, violent, irresistible passion. Again, our manslaughter law assumes a reasonable person can do things like this, which sounds crazy when I say it, kind of, but that's manslaughter. It's because we acknowledge humans are imperfect, that this is not a behavior that's unknown to society, that this is not an issue where we don't care why you did it. If it wasn't self-defense, defense of others, or an accident, you're a murderer. No, that's not what the law says. It's not what the law has ever said in this country. Passion is not sudden, violent, and irresistible. If there's an interval of time which a reasonable person would, and highlight there, under the circumstances. Under the circumstances. And so that is why we've discussed this accumulation of a few things in that period of time that lit the fuse. The fuse was lit when Michelle went to Vermeer and saw that kiss. You heard from her even today, yesterday when she testified, she started breaking up saying that, discussing that kiss. That lit the fuse. Now, we're not saying that's the provocation. We're not saying that that alone would cause a reasonable person to do this. But it's under the circumstances that the hitting and the words caused this. And when I say cause this, again, I'm not judging what Tracy did. A lot of us probably would have said and done the same exact thing. If Michelle came up to our vehicle or seatbelted in, knowing the history, and a lot of people would react that way. And we're not judging who should have done, Tracy should have done differently. And I don't want you to think that I'm trying to say that. Now, after the fact, Michelle has admitted that she wasn't truthful with the police, that she tried to hide some things that she could, that she just wanted it to go away. And of course, we know that it couldn't just go away. And Michelle knew, she said she knew, she was in trouble. Because she knew that she shouldn't have stabbed Tracy Mondabough, hurt her in the way she had hurt her, and that she had lost control, that she had snapped, and she knew that thereafter, because she knew she did it. This isn't like, oh, well, if you know you didn't do anything, why don't you just talk to the police and tell them your side of the story? And she knew that she had killed, or at least seriously hurt, Tracy Mondabough. And so, yes, she went into a self-preservation mode. Wasn't forthright with the police. Now, that is not a reason to discount that this is manslaughter and not murder. Again, we've said charge is just a charge till the state proves it beyond reasonable doubt. And they haven't done that. What they have proven is voluntary manslaughter. And also this idea in serious provocation, highlighted here, and I don't think about this phrase a lot with manslaughter. I did while I was working on this, that suppress the impulse to kill. That's more than just let it go. That's an active process, suppression. You're not just, I'll just let it flow out of me. There we go. That requires action. It requires you to do something. Now, I was thinking about is in movies, a lot of times we'll see, military scenes and that nature, and all the soldiers are shooting. They're concentrating fire on one object or one thing or a position. And you often see their commander has like scream at them to stop, to hold your fire. And it may take a while. They have to talk down the line, or if they have radios now, they can do it that way. But to get them all to stop, suppress the impulse to kill. Michelle, when does she have time to suppress? To suppress the impulse, more than just let it go. It's to push it down. And she's supposed to push down this impulse to kill with a woman who, yes, she has been interested in, trying to figure things out about, is now with her husband, who she's still married to, gets hit, gets screamed at and called a name in the truck that smells like smoke, cigarette smoke, that reminds her of Nick and how they gave up smoking to be able to afford the truck.
Not the
and
smoke.
how this interloper is in there
Gosh.
smoking in it. Does she have Nick smoking again in the truck? All that we gave up, we used to smoke and gave it up. We used the extra money because cigarettes are expensive to buy this truck, make the payments. And here she is, probably smoking in here. And the smell, it involves all the senses. The passion from this provocation was incited by all the senses except taste. I mean, smell is kind of a taster. It can be. I don't know if the cigarette smoke, incites a flavor in your mouth if there's anyone who's smoked a long time, but if you smell it, kind of get that feeling on the tongue. Perhaps you could say it's taste. She had touch. She had Tracy hitting her, them grappling. She had sound, or hearing, being called a name, yelled at. She had the smell and the sight. Looking at Tracy, seeing Tracy, who she knows who she is. She's run into her before. She doesn't like her. I mean, there's no, who would? Who would? All Michelle's senses are being violated at that moment. When she pulls open that door, probably to give Tracy a piece of her mind, probably, potentially to fight her, if it came to that. She's gonna let her know. I'm gonna give her what I want to say. And you know what? If she mouths off to me, we're gonna fight. Maybe that's what was in her mind. And the smell hits her, pulls open the door, Tracy hits her. The words hit her. And the sight of the joint truck, the marital asset truck, and Tracy, her rival, were provocations. I should say, under the circumstance.
Those things just provoked her so much, it made her walk back to her car, lean in through the open window, and grab a sharp object. And go back to the truck. Okay. Sounds about right.
All of that together became a provocation that would cause a reasonable person to kill, to have that sudden, violent, and irresistible passion. Now, this reasonable person, under the circumstances again, who had children with Nick, been married for 20 years, she relied upon him for support, security. She'd been abandoned while she's at work, left her alone during this chaos of the early pandemic, gets insulted, and struck by the person who had taken Nick away from her. That's right. She wanted her out of the way. Again, she wanted to see if Nick would come back to her. And this, if you want someone to come back to you, they're going to come back to you after you've been charged and convicted of murder or manslaughter for gold, just to get Nick back, which the state seemed to rely on, that she had this delusion, and it probably was a delusion, that Nick would come back to her. Then why would you throw all that away by doing this, either manslaughter or murder, which would tend to indicate impulse. Impulse, which is a hallmark of crimes that are not premeditated, planned. They have malice aforethought. Now, those are the injuries she suffered, the scratch on the face, and discussed the DNA expert, Petrocelli, about DNA under the fingernail was inconclusive. I believe from two individuals. Perhaps some skin was underneath from that. Perhaps not. It's a possibility. Now, Michelle described initially when she went to the truck, she didn't have the knife. And we don't have a photo to show exactly how the cars were positioned. We have some testimony, but didn't go into great detail exactly how they were positioned. But the car was alongside the truck. I don't remember if someone said slightly at an angle or not, but it's within feet of the truck. This isn't, it's parked spaces over, or it's, parked parallel or perpendicular to the truck so they can't back out, but it's, at the end. It's not like that. It's within feet. This fight starts. Everything I just talked about in Michelle's mind. And powder keg exploded. The fuse had been lit. The powder keg exploded. The fuse had been lit previously at Vermeer from that kiss. burning down, not a chance to extinguish. But even if there was, at the point the fuse is burning down, that's not what we're concerned about. It's whether you could make what's happening in your mind, make the fuse go back to where it was before any of it burned. And when it's lit, that's not the serious provocation. The serious provocation, again, is the encounter at the truck, combined with the circumstances surrounding it. What had happened that day, their family history together, length of the relationship, the manner that Michelle was abandoned, the time in which she was abandoned in, the circumstances that she's almost penniless, has $6 and no work. And that is where the glasses that she's looking through when she sees Tracy and then gets hit by her, called a name, screamed at and grappled with. And again, we don't need to blame Tracy for anything for this to be manslaughter. What Tracy did, entirely justifiable. Like I said, probably not wrong. But that doesn't mean this is murder. Now, Instruction 9. It's alternative theories instruction. You don't all have to believe the same thing about what the serious provocation was. If you believe some of the stuff earlier would apply as a serious provocation, but your neighbor doesn't believe just, the hitting by itself was and that's it, or whatever facts you dispute. As long as you both agree, you think that's a serious provocation, this instruction says that's okay. There's more than one road to the same end. And you can go down your own path. As long as you agree what it is, what the outcome of it is, law doesn't care how you get there. Now, this quote, I mentioned John Adams and the Boston Massacre. Man is frail and passionate. When her passions are touched, she will be thrown off her guard, and therefore the law makes allowances for this frailty. Considers her as in a fit of passion, not having the possession of her intellectual faculties, and therefore does not oblige him to measure out her blows with a yardstick or weigh them in a scale. Let her kill with a sword, gun, or hedge stake. It is not murder, but only manslaughter. And this is returning to what started at the beginning, that this is a concept that has been around a long time, that seems odd to accept that any reasonable person could act in such a manner, could cut someone like that in their hands as they're defending themselves and stab them in the heart without it being murder. Now, reasonable doubt, you have these instructions. The state always has the burden beyond a reasonable doubt. They have on each and every element, in this case, on each and every charge, lesser included, and murder in the first degree, they've alleged, in your jury instructions. That is their burden. And the presumption of innocence I've discussed. We need to go over that in much greater detail, but again, it is your job to search for doubts. You are tasked with that because you're supposed to presumed innocent and not guilty. So the process starts with a doubt. I doubt she's guilty. They haven't told me anything yet. That is where you begin. And that's your primary job. This innocence, it says, requires you to put aside all suspicion which might arise from the arrest, charge, or present situation of the defendant. The presumption of innocence remains with the defendant throughout the trial unless the evidence establishes guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And that doesn't matter whether you like Michelle, you don't like Michelle, you think she looks mean, she looks cold, she sounds crafty, or she sounds whatever negative adjective you and might have in your head looking at her. Because how many of us in this room can raise our hands and say, I've been charged with murder in the first degree after admitting I killed someone? Her. That's the only person here that can say that. At least I hope. I didn't see any hands, but it's the only thing Michelle has unique from this room. She killed someone, and now the state is trying to say, yeah, we don't like this old-fashioned manslaughter stuff. No, it's murder. You can't just go around, following someone and then just because they happen on that particular day to piss you off, you get to kill them and not get convicted of murder. It's wrong. That's manslaughter. That's why it exists. And I don't care if you don't like that it exists. Your job's to follow the law and not break your oaths. It doesn't matter to me if you like Michelle. It doesn't matter to me if you like me, Miss Ironman, Mr. Bull. Anyone from the state of Iowa, Mr. Prosser, Mr. Harmon, the judge, the deputy, the court, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Your personal feelings are not in play here. You're judges of the facts. You're not, diviners of emotion. You're not supposed to judge someone based upon how they look, appear. Don't cry when you think they should cry. Cry when they, it's some time that you just thought was odd, or interpreting beyond what's common sense into your own particular quirks, let's use that word. It's not proper, because common sense implies that, well, come on, anyone can see that, or it's a commonly held understanding or belief. So that's why I say these things shouldn't matter, because you cannot let your personal quirks dictate the lens that you view Michelle's culpability in this case. It's not mercy, it's following the law. Is it mercy to look at a set of facts and you as jurors say, Well, yeah, not murder, it's manslaughter. And it reminds me to bring up, when we say lesser offenses and they're listed, you shouldn't take any inference from that. Any of those charges necessarily are, as a state, described less severe. You've been instructed you're not responsible for punishment, and the order that these are listed in don't necessarily mean anything. The issue for you to consider is, what don't I have doubt about? What doesn't make me hesitate to act? Hesitate to act. That is more passive than suppressing the urge to kill. Hesitate to act. You pause. Think. That's hesitation. Pausing is far more passive than suppressing. You don't have to suppress your urge to act on murder one. You just have to hesitate. What gives you hesitation? Reasonable doubt, you can see in line 2 there, fairly naturally arises from the evidence in the case or from the lack or failure of evidence. If there's simply just not the evidence there to show it, and that makes you hesitate because, gee, I need to know this, I think, before I can say X. It's hesitation, that's doubt. Now, proof of such a convincing character that a reasonable person would not hesitate. And there's a reasonable person language. Why do you have to be reasonable? Because this is a standard under the law where if we want fair administration of justice, the law has to assume we have reasonable people on our juries, that we have standards of living, punishment, expectations that are based on reason. And the reason, if you look at the facts of this case, there's simply a lack of evidence, premeditation, and malice aforethought. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Malice aforethought I'll discuss it now. So, instruction, I don't have this in my slides.
Thanks, sir.
I'm just thinking as the state was talking about it.
Discuss it now. Do it live.
20. It may be established by evidence of actual hatred or by proof of a deliberate or fixed intent to do injury. Now, fixed intent. If you look at the manslaughter instruction, which I'll go back here. Then it intentionally stabbed Tracy Mondabough. Malice aforethought, or by proof of a deliberate or fixed intent to do injury. If you intend to stab someone, isn't that an intent to do injury? Stabbing them's an injury. So just because you think there was malice there, that doesn't make this murder. That does not make this murder 1 or murder 2. Because there can be malice and have it still be manslaughter. And And this fixed intent, it may be established by evidence of actual hatred or by proof of deliberate or fixed intent to do injury. Again, the hatred, the state doesn't have the evidence for hatred. Like I said, this is one thrust of the knife. Now, the state can say maybe more than that. The medical examiner says, can't say that, it could be from one. But let's say it's 2 or 3 instead of 1. Still not for hatred. Hatred is beyond any level of feelings towards a person. You can't feel more negatively about someone than hatred. And be happy you're killing someone you hated. Be happy about it. You be stabbing, just much more sadistic than what the state can portray here. Inherently killing someone in any manner, even self-defense, I mean, you could say it's sadistic, you've taken another life, but it's justified because to protect your own. And hatred requires a level of feeling of wanting to snuff out the life of someone, wanting to give them pain, agony, torture, slashes, cutting, bleeding for your own enjoyment. That's a hatred killing. This is not hatred. This was the Hulk. This was rage, provoked anger, passion, sudden and violent, with no time to suppress the urge to kill. The knife is in with feet of the car, or of the truck. Reaches in the window, grabs the knife, a minute or seconds, is back in. And, you know, maybe Michelle was over Tracy. I mean, probably had to get in the cab to get to her, to fight her, to attack her with the knife. So the angle, Tracy's leaning back and tries to block the knife. And that's the downward angle you see. But it's hard to tell because if they're leaning back, you can't even have an upward angle. They're leaning forward, perhaps downward. There's a lot of what ifs about exactly what position everyone was in when what happened. Because Michelle's the only one that knows, because Tracy is deceased. And Michelle was in a rage and killed Tracy. You don't remember every little detail. You remember starting to come out, realize what you've done. You're like dumping out her purse because you're enraged about the cigarette part of it still, and realize, what am I doing? What have I done? And throwing down the knife in disgust and anger at yourself at that point. And after that, it's all self-preservation. I mean, you know, committed crime, and you got to do something. You don't know what. Yes, I should have thought of my kids. Yes, I should have thought of my, you know, my house, my dogs. Yes, I should have thought of those things before I killed Tracy. It's because she didn't have a chance to think about those things. She ruined Tracy's life, clearly. She ruined Nick's life, clearly. She ruined her own life by being a slaughterer, not a murderer.
Seriously. I think she did more than ruin Tracy's life.
Going back to in closing here, Ms. Eimerman discussed with you in for dire jury selection brought up this idea of the Tylenol bottle. You might recall us discussing that this Tylenol scare in the 80s, pills that had been capsules laced with cyanide. How many pills have to be in a bottle before it's unreasonable for you to be fine with you or your family taking one of those pills? I think we stopped at 10,000, didn't go beyond that, but reasonable doubt doesn't have to be a huge thing. It seems to be an important thing. And potentially, dying by taking a pill, that's a risk where who knows how many pills you want for you to consider, especially if you're asking your family member and not doing it yourself, because then that's someone else's life. Now, Laura, enough pills in this bottle that you don't hesitate to act in taking any for yourself. Where you say, yeah, the state, there's a few things, but I'm okay with it. They've shown me that, she probably murdered her, but I'm fine with it. It's not a big enough risk. I'm really concerned about it. That's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond hesitating to act. Evidence is such a convincing character that you don't have that hesitation. That you just open up the bottle and pop one down and hello, we'll see what happens. That is not beyond reasonable doubt. What the evidence has shown, and the burden the state has met, you're going to see when the judge gives it to you, or you have it actually, the form of verdict number 5, which we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of voluntary manslaughter. And so that is what we're asking. We've considered all the evidence, or heard all the evidence. It'll deliberate on it. Deliberation. Chance to suppress your reasonable doubts. A chance to suppress your hesitations, or to reveal them. And so when you go back,
you guys hear what I hear? The sirens. How in the world did we get so lucky to get another trial with the sirens going off? I was like, Judge, are we okay? Like that guy in Florida. We're almost done. Sorry, I heard the siren had to stop for just a second.
deliberate, or actually stay here and deliberate.
I don't know. Might be the first
We ask
Friday of the
you
month, maybe.
to follow the law, discuss it with each other, and not judge based upon a normal, everyday person, but a reasonable person. In this circumstance, the law allows manslaughter, and that's what we have here in this case, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the verdict we would request. Thank you.
Okay, oh my. I really did not expect that to be that bad. I really didn't. He's just finishing in time before they come to take him away. Oh, or take us away. Good heavens. When he's talking about it's the jealous ex-girlfriend siren. She's coming back to get you. Oh my gosh. When he talked about her going back to her car to get the weapon, whatever it was, because they didn't find it, even though she said it was under her sink in the bathroom. Of course, she had to climb back up in the truck. Of course, it came at a downward angle. We saw how Tracy was laid over in the truck. Yes, flash fan's over. You're good. I don't care if it was 1 time or 10 times. It only takes one. It only takes one. It only takes one hit. It only takes one stab. It only takes one, and you can end somebody. So who cares? Like, don't make that argument of it, well, it's only once. I don't care. She was angry. She was stalking her that entire night. She had plenty of time to turn around and go home. Plenty of time. She could have turned every other opposite direction. She had so many chances to just go home, and she chose not to. She chose to follow Tracy, to see where they lived, to tell her, give me my husband back. I'm sorry, he didn't want you back. He didn't want to be with you. I don't know if he was with Tracy before or after. I have no idea, and I don't care. You made a choice. Your own testimony. Your own testimony didn't argue half the stuff he just argued for you. You couldn't even stand on. He couldn't even quote your testimony, most of it, because it didn't add up to where he was trying to get you. Carmen, where are you? I saw you. 12-hour shift in Grandma's. Then a phone call to be back at 2 a.m. Ugh. Good night, Carmen. I wondered why I didn't hear from you. Oh, goodness gracious. That was horrible. It just takes a little bit of carelessness in some situations, and that's your life having ended another human being. True. You have to not only be careful, but to realize that the logical end to it. What? Wait. My mouse won't stop. It's been... I can't. There. It's been going crazy. Haley, I saw that about your smoke alarm. That's funny. All right, so I have dinner with my dad, brother, husband, and my sister tomorrow. So I'll be back on Thursday. We'll do rebuttal, which is only 24 minutes. We can handle it. We can do it. And we get to hear from the state attorney we haven't heard from at all. So I'm excited about that. Then we'll do the verdict, and then we will wrap up this trial. I don't know if it'll be in a nice, neat little bow or not, but we'll wrap it up. And I told you yesterday, we're going to send it down the river with no paddle. Yes, tomorrow night, I think tomorrow morning, they're going to stay up north of us. Late tomorrow night, our band will come through, so yay. So I'm just saying it. All this better stay on. No stream tomorrow, Flash Fan. You can sleep, you can do whatever. Well, I am northwest of there. I don't hear anything. Not that it means anything. I'm in the basement. We'll do Bethesda. I will just tell you guys this. This has been a very, very short trial, and thank goodness. Because, wow, it's been awful. It's been awful. Have a good night, Frank. Thanks for hanging out with us. They are a bit far out still, but if they continue on their course, they're headed that way. Yay. All right. Well, I will plan to see you guys all on Thursday. And have a great Wednesday. I don't know, do something fun. Be careful. Make good choices. Like, I'll do all that kind of stuff, but have a good time. And then be back on Thursday so we can wrap this all up. And who is it, Heidel? And I will put it in. Is it Val? Is it Valhalla? Yeah, don't get caught. Okay, give me a sec. I apparently slept through the storms on Thursday night that came through. Although when I asked my dad about him today, but he lives not by, I mean, he doesn't, I can get storms and he doesn't always get storms and vice versa. But he looked at me like I had, you know, bugs crawling out of my eyes when I was like, I guess I slept through the storm. Like, what storm? I don't know. All right, all set. Okay, I'm going to redirect you over to Val. So if you can at least just pop up. I know he doesn't start for a little bit, but if you can at least just say hello. I think I got it. Is it Legos? And I think I got it. Starts at, now you're making me double check. You're not making me do anything. I'm making myself double check because now I'm, okay. Yes, I got it. Got it. All right, we're good. So if you guys can just pop in and say hello. Say, hey, we were here. I would appreciate it. Always give him a like. He's doing really well with these Lego streams. And this whole situation is weird. So, be interesting to see how this ends. She'll make you think, that title, she'll make you think twice about stuff. That's okay. I'm really good at doing that to myself anyway. So, all right. I will see you guys all Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And, other than that, have a good rest of your night, and I'll talk to you then.
Humanity and love is kinda uncanny. Click, like, subscribe, ooh, piece of candy. Looking for my spotlight, chasing my vibe. Still looking for my credibility online. Ooh, hot mannequin love, candy on the floor, don't pick it up. Chasing all the clicks, chasing all the views. Credibility's hiding, but I'm bringing you the news. Every little scroll is a mystery, but you stuck around, watch the show with me. Laughs and chaos, that's how we roll. Drop a comment down below before you go. Every little scroll is a mystery, but you stuck around, watch the show with me. Laughs and chaos, that's how we roll. Drop a comment down below before you go. Ooh, hot mannequin love, candy on the floor, don't pick